pickles, your eyes do not deceive you, your memory is not defective. This is a little bit different from usual in that I am not in my standard podcasting setup. I am in the same place as usual. However, this is not the standard podcasting setup because this is very much not your standard podcast. No, I am here. It's early on Saturday morning and I'm about to make my way out to Fibre East, which is a fabulous festival up in the, I guess sort of central Bedfordshire sort of area. It is an area just north of London and yeah, it is a festival that I've been attending for a good few years now. It's a great festival for the southeast here. There's a lot of makers from around the country, but particularly those down here in and around London, and so it's a great opportunity to head along and see some of their fabulous wares. I will be taking you with me this weekend. I want to flag right now though, it is a dreary old day here, and now I will say that is very much my preference after the week that we've had. The week that we've had has involved temperatures of 38 degrees Celsius, which is over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, we've established that I'm very much not into the heat, the warm weather, so a little bit of rain and respite from those temperatures to the extent where I can actually wear a jumper. We're very excited about this, and indeed full-length trousers. Oh my word, because no one needs to see my legs. Genuinely, they catch the light the wrong way, they will blind you, and I'm sorry, but there is very little that I can do about that. So yes, the good news is I am attired appropriately, I feel, for this general weather and occasion, and so I'm going to be heading over there and taking you with me. I hope you enjoy it, and let's see who we'll find. Well, it is squelchy and muddy in the extreme, not to mention quite rainy, but look at how many cars there are. So many cars. It goes on and on and on and on. If you notice that there is something a little bit different about this video, it is because that in my dishevelled and disorganised state, I managed to leave my camera at home. So I'm going to be filming today and vlogging today from my phone, which is a bit of a departure for me. We'll see how this goes. But in the meantime, I hope you're enjoying the colourful delights of my brolly. It is getting a good outing today. And yeah, let's go and have a wander. But just as we're on the way in, proof that there is nothing quite so sad as wet fun fur bunting. And so there you have it, Pickles. That was Fibre East. Thank you so much for following along with me there. As I mentioned right up front, I did have a little bit of a panic where I realised that I had packed my camera and then neglected to take it with me, because organisation is really definitely a strong point at the moment. And so yeah, that wasn't ideal, but I actually realised it. Got a cat attacking things in the background. I actually realised that I had forgotten my camera while I was sitting on the tube and kind of thought I could go back for it, and then thought no, it'll be fine. I will, you know, make amends and go with my phone camera and it'll be fine, and then promptly proceeded to panic gently throughout the rest of the day as to whether my phone camera battery was going to make it or not, and whether indeed I'd be able to use it on the way home to show my ticket. So that was great. Moral of the story, if you remember something with enough time to go back and get it, yeah, Caroline, go back and just bloody get it. Anyway, I had such a marvellous day. I tried to film a fair bit, but obviously there's a lot that I missed out on. I completely neglected to take pictures with people when I met them, so thank you so much to those of you with the presence of mind to remember that. I really appreciate it. And just to everybody that stopped and said hi, to those of you that said word for word I love yarn, or accused me and rightly chided me of not wearing sufficient gold, thank you. Your comments are duly noted. I mean, there was no way that I was wearing knitwear yesterday. What you probably couldn't tell from the videos there is that for all that it was raining and grey throughout almost the entirety of the day, it was also very muggy and very close. So I want to say in terms of temperature, it was kind of 25, 26 degrees C, which is what, maybe 75-ish, I don't know. But it certainly meant that when the rain sort of passed through, because the tents had retained quite a lot of heat, it would sort of rise within the tents, and you had this kind of like subtropical Amazonian feel to it, which for all the vendors who had mohair, I mean, whoomph, yeah, it was fairly intense, and that's an excellent pun on intense. Intentional? No. Anyway, I just wanted to round off this vlog by giving you a very brief sight of some of the things that I bought when I was out and about yesterday. And so, let's crack on with that then, shall we? The first thing that I'm going to show you was not the first thing that I purchased, but it is the first thing that comes to hand on the basis that quite a lot of what I bought is living inside it. I have been following a couple of these UK vendors over on Instagram for quite a while now, both Bird Street UK and Mr. B Yarns, who are a wonderful duo. Mr. B's yarns are fabulously beautiful colourways. He has some really lovely kind of subtle, some beautiful semi-solids, some lovely speckling as well, and their booth was a little bit on the small side and very crowded, which is always a good thing at these kinds of shows because it means that you've got some very strong choices there available to people. And while I was kind of hovering gently at the sidelines, I spotted a project bag from Bird Street UK, and I couldn't resist it because look at it. Yes, I left my camera at home. There was probably a small element of that was appealing to me, but I really loved it. So it's a fabulous bucket bag. It is huge, as you can see, because size of my head. Also huge, let's be fair. And it has these fabulous kind of slightly vintagey Polaroid and kind of like Leica style cameras on here, and it just makes me very happy. It is a great drawstring. What I will probably do is I will take some of the skeins of yarn that are in here out of it and then show you it properly. But yeah, Bird Street UK. Here's her little tag here on the side. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus on something other than my face long enough for you to see it. There you go. And she has an Etsy store there as well. But yeah, like I say, this print is just fab. Loved it. And then these great kind of cotton ties here at the top. So yeah, love this bag. Let me show you it properly in a second. But yes, managed to stop off at their booth there. And then as I start to dig into this, the first one that I've got in here, again, these are not in chronological order at all, is I stopped off at the wonderful Die Candy booth. Die Candy are some fabulous dyers that are based, I believe they're based over in Northern Ireland, and they travelled over the show specially. And in fact, there's a couple of things I want to show you from them, but the first of them is this, because look at how beautiful this is. Now, you would be forgiven for thinking that this is mohair. This is not mohair. This is brushed Suri alpaca. And the camera is just about focusing on it. And it is brushed, 74% brushed Suri alpaca and 26% mulberry silk. It is a lace weight, which if I move my finger, you might be able to see kind of how finely this, there we go, there you can see a little bit of it there. And it is in the deep colourway. It is a lace weight, so 50 grams is around about 300 meters, and I think pairing this with pretty much anything would give just some gorgeous floof. I did have a little bit of chat with the dyer yesterday around this, which is particularly online. She made a comment about how this base in particular can sometimes struggle to sell on the basis that people look at it and kind of think, oh, it's mohair, it's going to be itchy. What I would say, and we did have a good chat about this as I mentioned, is when it comes to the Suri alpaca in particular, it is a fantastic compromise, because what you get is you get all of the floof and genuinely none of the itch. It is hypoallergenic, it is beautifully soft. I would gladly wear this in a hat, on my face, because I'm not a rear head hat wearer. How do people wear hats on the back of their heads and have them stay on? I don't understand that, but no, I'm a forehead hat wearer, and therefore this would very happily go right front and centre with zero itch whatsoever. But no, absolutely loved this yarn, and yeah, the blues and so on just really appealed. Now obviously I'm in the midst of knitting my As If tee in a bit of a similar navy at the moment, and I think what I would say with that is I'm going to have a quick look and see how this compares to Okanami, which is the colourway that I've got from Ching Fibres, and just see which of the two is a closer fit. But let's face it, I mean, there's enough kind of blues and navy DK weight over here, and even fingering weight in here, for me to find a close match with this and be able to use it in something. So this had to come home with me. Dye Candy also had some fantastic pins available off to one side, and her aesthetic is just awesome. She is properly colourful as an individual and just has the most fantastic, there we go, so general aesthetic. So this is a little self-portrait of her off to the side here, along with a pin that has, let me see if I can hold it still long enough, Yarn Snob tattooed on finger knuckles as opposed to other knuckles. Let's just go with knuckle, Caroline. But yeah, so this is a little pin from her. She had some fantastic pins there available. There were a couple that I was falling in love with, but this is the one I ended up bringing home with me. So yeah, really enjoyed that, and just a fantastic new to me dyer as well. Next door to Dye Candy, in one of the tents, I believe it was the middle tent, and I can't remember for the life of me which one that was. Good podcasting skills. I want to say Leicester, but I could be very wrong. There was a wonderful illustrator sitting next to her as well, and that illustrator goes by the name of Rockamolly, and I just properly fawned over this booth. It was ridiculous. So she does some fantastic knitting related illustrations. She has prints, stickers, she had some pin badges as well. The very first thing that caught my eye is this notebook, and I'm going to hold it up here. It is still in the cellophane, but hopefully you will be able to see it in a little bit of detail. So there is a sticker that comes with it, and the sticker here says sweater weather, but I love this so much. Look at all the cute illustrations on here. This is perfect for pre-Rhinebeck note-taking and so on. This is just absolutely gorgeous. And then here in the back, just if I switch it around, you will be able to see her card. So this is her. This is Rockamolly again, a fantastic little self-portrait there. And no, I couldn't resist this. It's a little dotted notebook inside, and absolutely loved it. But yeah, in addition to that, I did pick up a couple, a couple of her other items as well. There was an A5 print. She had some fantastic prints of animals wearing knitwear, which I feel like I'm impervious to resist. I didn't realise that was a thing up until now, but now I've realised I am entirely impervious to resisting it, especially where llamas and alpacas are concerned, because look at this guy. Isn't that the cutest thing? I loved it so much, I could not resist it. So yeah, I've got a little hat-wearing llama here. I'm very happy about this. And actually I ended up getting a matching sticker as well. So we got 2. Double llama for the win. So cute. And then, as I mentioned, she had a couple of other stickers at the side, and I really definitely couldn't resist them. So I enjoyed the first of these, which is her Knit the Rainbow sticker. Let me hold it there so you can see it. There we go. Knit the Rainbow, because all about supporting those causes. And then as a general point of contention, there is also don't be a dick, which I feel is something that we could all do to live by. There is another one which definitely appealed to me, which is Yarn Ho, because accurate. And just in case someone hasn't heeded the previous warning, there is also you massive wang. There was another of these stickers that escalated it even further, and I was so sorely tempted to buy that one. If you saw her stand, you know which sticker I mean. But yeah, I was so sorely tempted. But in the end, stuck with that one. I also grabbed a couple of her badges. There is another Yarn Ho one here, and another little sweater weather one. Let me hold them up so you'll be able to see them. There's a thumbnail for you. Anyway, so yeah, I've got a little Yarn Ho badge here, and then this super cute, oh, it's not quite focusing, there we go, this super cute little sweater badge here as well, which I absolutely love. So yeah, love these 2, great stuff from Rockamolly. But there were a couple of more yarny purchases as well. Actually, before I get to the other yarny purchases though, there was one other very fun purchase, and my word, in the last like 12-15 hours of me having owned this, the joy that these have brought me is almost unprecedented. So there is a fantastic vendor in the UK called Fibre East. She does the most wonderful little stitch markers and sort of plastic resin necklaces. So some of the yarn necklaces or the knitter necklaces that you've seen, they're probably one of hers. But on her stand, she was sharing a little bit of space with the Bearded Hooker. And the Bearded Hooker is the fabulous individual behind these. So, those of you out there who are familiar with the card game Cards Against Humanity, and I imagine given so many of you seem to deeply enjoy my swearing on the regular podcast, I imagine there's quite a few of you out there, whereas, you know, Venn diagrams go, you're basically almost concentric, but you will absolutely love and appreciate these. Now, the language is definitely UK specific, so there are a few things in here that you may have to Urban Dictionary the living shit out of, but at the same time, oh my, it's funny. It's very funny. I almost don't want to give too much away because I think these are absolutely kind of special and hilarious in and of themselves. There was a conversation that was happening while I was on the stand around, you know, they were surprised that no one had come up with complaints yet. Honestly, I can't see how that anyone would complain off the back of this. They made me laugh so much. I might put in a couple of just snippets on it right at the end, but we'll see where we get to. But if you don't want any spoilers, I just highly recommend that you head over and see if you can grab some of these from Yarnistry's site, because they tickled me. They tickled me so hugely. So yeah, love these. And to the 2 fantastic people that I met at the stand as well who recommended that I buy these, you good choices, good life choices, and thank you for the recommendation, because that absolutely did not disappoint in the slightest. So a little bit more yarn now as well. Now, I can't remember if I've talked about this on the podcast. I have been thinking for a while how lovely it would be to have a no-frills sweater knit out of a neutral tweed yarn. Now, I know that I've just knit a white horse sweater knit out of a neutral tweed yarn, and clearly I am nothing if not suggestive. But yeah, it's been in my mind for a little while now, so I've been on the lookout for kind of a lovely neutral palette, really nice tweed, fingering weight yarn that I could use to hold together with a mohair and get the kind of effect that I was after. And one of my favourite vendors on the knitting circle, sort of knitting circuit here in the UK, is a fantastic, fantastic vendor called the Knitting Shed. They have their own yarn dyeing business there as well, and they dye under the name Ainsworth and Prynne, and I love their yarns. They are such a fantastic, they've got kind of strong jewel tones to them, they've got some lovely sort of neutral colours, they've got some really interesting bases, and to that end I came away with these three beauties. This is their Slubby 4-ply. It is 85% superwash merino, 15% viscose nep, 400 meters to a skein, and it is in the most beautiful perfect grey colourway. I'm conscious the camera is making it look slightly more taupey in person than it really is. It is more of a kind of cool, slightly sort of cool grey than it is appearing on screen. This is the Lime Mortar colourway, and yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. You can see it's got quite a high twist to it, so there's a bit of texture to the yarn itself. It has these beautiful neps in here too, and I just think this is going to make such a beautiful no frills sweater. So really, really looking forward to knitting with that. It's just lovely to go and see their stand, and they have some excellent golds and rusts as well, I'm just saying. I was also able to stop by another fantastic vendor who is fairly well known on the UK knitting circuit now, and that is the wonderful, wonderful Dusty Dimples. She had a huge stand, which I took a little bit of filming of. She also had the most brilliant idea of these little pick and mix balls. So they were tiny, tiny little yarn balls, about sort of 5 grams to a piece, the muscle of which, I mean, all credit to her husband for providing the yarn winding skills that went into those. She mentioned they might be making another pair at Yarndale, so if that is something you're interested in and you are heading there, definitely worth stopping by her booth and checking those out. But I was finding it so hard to choose from the rest of her skeins that were there until I saw these two. Again, I think I might have mentioned somewhere in the past that I was having this sort of slight obsession with the purpley blue colourway of my dreams, that the Scotty sweater that I knit by Petite Knit out of the Drops Air, that was close to what I wanted, but it wasn't quite what I had in mind, and then I spied these. And these are exactly the sort of soft purpley blue that I had in mind. They are getting a little bit washed out on the camera, they are a little bit deeper and more saturated in person, but oh my goodness, would you look at how beautiful these are. So yeah, these are on her singles base. It is the high twisty singles, 100% merino, 366 meters, and that is in the royal colorway, and it is the perfect, very, very slightly, definitely sort of on the semi-solid side, but very, very tonal, and just beautiful, beautiful purpley soft blue. I'm so excited to work with them. The camera got overexcited as well and ran out of memory, so there we go. But yeah, really, really excited to work with these. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to be just yet. There's part of me that is thinking gently and faintly about another as if tee, where if I held these two together, maybe I'd have enough, and then maybe like a purpley blue. Oh, that would be pretty. Or even potentially, I am wondering if I might be able to get a slightly more kind of, I hesitate to say cropped, because cropped is definitely not for me, but potentially I need to look at yardages for some of the things like kind of the Tenyas and the Moretmo tees and stuff that are out there at the moment, that if there were any way that I'd be able to get that out of 2 skeins, it might be a bit of a stretch, but maybe with some contrast colour thrown in, or maybe even Novelli with this as the main colour. Oh, that would be pretty. Oh, I need to have a bit of a think about that. But yes, so these two, beautiful, beautiful yarns. And yeah, Dusty Dimples has some absolutely fabulous colourways, both semi-solids and speckles as well. So you really can't go wrong there. And then the final yarny goodies that I have in here were actually the very, very first ones that I picked out when I was wandering around. I stopped off in the Romney tent, the first tent next to I think the sort of catering area, I want to say, kind of off to one side. If you've been to Fibre East, you'll know the one that I mean. I got to see my lovely friend Sue Stratford, who was in there. She was next to Easy Knits, and then just in behind Easy Knits were Giddy Aunt Yarns. So theirs is a dyeing company that, again, I have followed along on Instagram, but I've never had the opportunity to get in and squish some of their beautiful yarns in person. So to have a chance to do that was fantastic. Also, to have a chance to meet them and say hello in person was always great. And in fact, I do want to take a second just to say thank you so much to all of the vendors who were happy to stand and have a little bit of a chat. One thing I will say, and what I love so much about going to shows and festivals like this, is the extent to which you have an opportunity to meet these people who are incredible independent business owners firsthand, to have a chat with them, to get to know them a little bit better, and really just to thank them for their efforts and hard work. I appreciate how difficult it must be to be running a business on your own, to be speaking to customers through the internet, whether it be through email or Instagram or kind of any other customer service channel that you have, and never really have a chance to perhaps directly interact in the way that you would do if you were kind of selling your goods in person. And so to have an opportunity to do that at shows like this is such a highlight as a customer, because you get to come along and really just kind of get to know the people behind the goods that you've been purchasing, or get to know people and discover things for the first time. And so to that extent, I really enjoyed having a chance to stop to chat and just to get to know people a little bit better. So thank you so much to everyone who took the time to do that. It was just wonderful. But just on the yarns, so I was there, I was perusing their fabulous stand, and then one sample caught my eye, and I am a sucker for a sample knit, especially a slightly unexpected sample knit. And what I will say is that I know and I appreciate how challenging it is as an independent business owner to find time to then go and try and do all these additional sample knits. But I will say, there's people like me who are just absolute magpies when it comes to inspiration. So to be able to see some of those things and see your beautiful products knit up is just, it's incredibly helpful. And it's actually this that swayed my choice here, because there was a hat on the Giddy Aunt Yarns stand where it was a fingering weight hat where it'd been held together with mohair, but the mohair was a slightly different colour from the base yarn, and it just gave this beautiful effect that I completely fell head over heels for. And I kept walking back to this hat and kind of perusing the stand and walking back to it and perusing the stand, and in the end sussed out that it were these two beauties here. Let me just move this tag out of the way so you can see. And again, the colours on the screen aren't quite doing this justice. This is slightly less of a sort of bright blood red in person and a little bit softer and darker and a little bit more blue, I want to say. Whereas this is pretty accurate actually. So these two yarns here, so we have her Ruby Slippers colourway on her merino singles base, and that is 100% superwash merino, 400 yards or 366 meters in this incredibly beautiful, very deep, very saturated red colourway. There are some tiny speckles of black in here, and I really do say that it is coming out far more orangey on the screen than it really is. I promise you. Hold it back here, is that any better? That's maybe a little bit better here. It is definitely more of a blue toned red, and it has these slightly darker, I'd hesitate to call them speckles, but definitely sort of slightly darker undertones to it in places. It is stunning. And then the other is, I mean, this colourway has my heart, and surely Ellie of Skeyndir, who is a great lover of all things, let me see if I can get it to focus, a great lover of all things burgundy, I'm sure would feel the same. But this is the Blackcurrant Jam colourway. Again, it's coming up slightly kind of red, whereas it's definitely more of a sort of burgundy plum. But this is her Kid Mohair Silk lace base, and it is 72% Kid Mohair, 28% silk, and 459 yards or 420 meters to the 50 grams. And so if I hold the two of those back here, let me see if we can get a slightly better colour representation on those. That's definitely looking a little bit better. But yeah, these two together. I will put a picture up on the screen of the hat in particular that caught my eye, and you will be able to see what this looks like when it is all worked up. Seriously, how could I resist? So yeah, so these two, I was clutching these two and wandering around the rest of the stand and thought, right, this these two, they need to be that, or whether exactly that pattern, whether another pattern, I'm not entirely sure just yet, but oh, these two together, they just have my heart. And so went over, got ready, did some gentle queuing because there was quite a few people looking to buy some yarn when I was there, including someone who was buying more of the Ruby Slippers colourway because it's beautiful. And then the wonderful, wonderful ladies at Giddy Aunt Yarns actually offered these up as a gift and refused to let me pay for them. And as a general rule, I really like to try and support businesses wherever I can. I do appreciate that obviously by having a podcast and a platform that there is a degree to which this could be construed as marketing effectively. I do understand that. It's not really my preference. I want to be able to come here and talk to you about products that I believe in to the point where I would entirely happily and very, very gladly spend my own money, and this is absolutely the case with these two yarns. But I also need to be open and transparent and not suggest that I have paid for something when I've been given it for free. So while my general rule of thumb is that I always want to try and ensure that I am paying for the goods that I show here on this channel, I also have to be transparent. And so thank you so much. I'm very sorry that I told you to piss off. It kind of escaped my lips before I actually caught myself and said thank you. But I really do appreciate it. You absolutely didn't have to do that. These yarns are beautiful and stunning, and I would gladly, very, very gladly have ensured that I paid you for them in full. But thank you so much for giving me these as a gift, and I really do appreciate it. You have some absolutely stunning yarns, and it was just so lovely to get a chance to squish them all in person. And here we are at the bottom of the bag, so I can now show you the fabulousness that is the inside of this bag. It's a little bit difficult to see. There are 4 pockets in here, and they've got little scissors on them. It's so cute. You see if I can actually show you. So this is the lining material that I've got in here on the pockets. It's got these little scissors, and they're so cute. But yeah, so 4 pockets, lovely and deep bag. It's really hard to show bags on here. I mean, short of just wearing it as a hat, oh fine, screw it. Nope. Failed at that one. My hair's already a mess today, so this is fine. Yeah, pretty sizable. Even fits my head. So there we go. Is that the empiric test of bag sizing? I have no idea. But yeah, really, really well-made bag. There you are. You can see the pockets a little bit better now. Really well-made bag. This is going to be fantastic for sweaters. And yeah, I absolutely love it. So again, a massive, massive thank you to everybody at Fibre East, whether you were vending, whether you were there for the day, whether you were helping out. Fibre East is a festival that I've been going to. It's possibly the festival in the UK that I've been going to the longest, and I want to say I've been there maybe 6 or 7 times. I love it. I absolutely love it. It is a great, great mix of kind of slightly more, I want to say there is a kind of guildy aspect to it, so there are definitely some halls where there is weaving and there are kind of massive kind of crochet blankets and stuff going on. There's quite a few kind of community-minded pieces that are there, which I enjoy. I've never been a member of a guild, so it's not necessarily something that I feel directly appeals to me necessarily, but it's also really nicely balanced as a festival because there are a huge number of kind of lesser known brands, of independent designers, of dyers that I'd never really seen before in person, and I think Fibre East does a really, really good job of curating that. One last thing I do want to say about Fibre East, and that is to give them a little bit of praise for the fact that the volunteers yesterday were incredibly visible. Now, as I mentioned, I've been going there for a number of years. I'm sure there have been a significant number of volunteers there in the past, but I certainly recognised them more yesterday than I have done in the past. There were also a couple of signs on the way into the festival itself that I took a brief film of, where they stated that this was an inclusive event. They wanted to try and make it safe for everybody, and I do think the volunteers had a fairly major role to play in that. Now, a couple of weeks ago, in fact, the day that I filmed the last episode of the podcast, there was a really, really troubling and frankly just downright abhorrent incident that happened at Yarningham, where Nathan, who is a sockmatician who had already been, I guess, putting out some fairly troubling posts. There'd been a few things leading up to that week, or rather that event that week, where he had published a particularly problematic post about the hashtag Diversity. He then was hospitalised, and his husband started posting on his behalf, and then over the course of the weekend he then appeared at a book signing event at a yarn festival, and when challenged on it, entirely understandably so, by a member of the BIPOC community, by Witchcrafty Lady, he then became quite verbally abusive, aggressive, at one point had to be restrained, and just an absolutely awful incident. And I can't even begin to imagine how harrowing that must have been for Witchcrafty Lady, and indeed for those that were witness to it. And I'm just grateful that she had the support around her to be able to manage and to handle that. And certainly it sounds as though the event organisers were able to manage that as well. And what I would say is, given that only 2 weeks have passed since then, I certainly felt that the visibility of some of the volunteers that were there went a really long way to just, even me, who, you know, I can't even begin to suggest that I have in any way felt unsafe at a knitting festival, and that is 100% my own privilege that comes to bear in me mentioning that. But for anyone who has perhaps felt less safe at these events in the past, I would like to hope that the visibility of the volunteers and some of the statements that were on the walls up front went some way towards allaying some of your concerns there. If not, and if there's more to be done, absolutely, let's continue to push for that. But hopefully this is a bit of a step in the right direction. So massive, massive thank you to Fibre East for making that so very clear on the day itself. And fingers crossed we start to see a bit more of an improvement in this space as well. So that's it. That is my recap of Fibre East. I had a wonderful day. I know the festival is running today, but unfortunately I don't have time to get there. I also don't have time, in addition to yesterday and today's little clip from here, to film a full version of the podcast. So apologies from my side. You're going to have to make do with this time round, but there will be another episode coming in the not too distant future. Also, spoiler alert, I mentioned right up front that it's been like 38 degrees this week, which is over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and so my knitting mojo has been close to zero. So you're not missing out on too much. I have started a little project for the Gold Along. Very excited about that, but I will talk to you about that next time. And so in the meantime, please do continue to do your excellent work on the Gold Along. Both the Instagram hashtag and the group over in Ravelry are bringing me so much joy. I am delighted. I will have a bumper showcase of Gold Along projects in the next episode of the podcast. But in the meantime, I really hope you have a wonderful rest of day, rest of week. I hope your knitting is keeping you happy and fulfilled, but if for whatever reason it isn't, I hope you have the chance to knit vicariously. Keep on keeping on, and I will see you again in the next episode. Bye.